Hello, Goldma viewers. Welcome back to our program. Today, as usual, we have an interesting topic to discuss, and this is something that we feel that each and every person must know if you are to know what to invest in. Today, we want to talk about the concept of value and what value actually means. And why we want to talk about it is because Goldma is a company that's providing value, and someone who doesn't understand value might not actually know, well, what's the point and what's so valuable about it? And this is us playing our part to explain the concept of value. So I'll start with you, Mr. J. What do you consider to be value if you had to define the term?
Value, for me, is something that I regard as either important, having merit, or some type of particular sense of gratification. And it's also something that I can pass to someone, and when they receive it, they may also consider it valuable. So for me, it has to be transferable somewhat, and interchangeable, meaning I can change it for someone or trade it for something else.
Yeah.
So that's what I consider valuable. But again, that's somewhat subjective.
Okay. I think I'm going to go last. Mr. Eddie, your chance here.
Oh, that's great. Well, I consider value something that adds to me. For example, if I am to buy something, it has to be something that that addresses my needs. At the same time, I can still use it elsewhere aside from my own needs. So I can call it something valuable is something that if I'm a company that manufactures drinks, the most valuable thing to me will be the actual machine that manufactures the drinks, because without it, I can't carry on doing stuff. So value to me is something that enables me to carry on, and something that gives me current and future. That's value to me.
That's deep, very deep, Mr.
Thank you.
Rubin.
I have a much less flowery
Okay.
definition of it. I think my philosophy doesn't extend quite so far as the other people here. Basically, for me, value is whatever you enjoy from owning something. Right? And comes in two parts. Either the thing has some sort of utility value, or it has the power to command other things in free exchange. That's what value is to me.
Okay, right. I think I'm the one that's going to go spiritual on this one. Value for me, I think I'm going to echo your sentiments as well, is something that adds to my well-being and something that can be transferred or imparted. So that means if there is, like if you impart knowledge, into someone and you teach them, this is how you become successful, this is how you prosper in this field, then to me, that's value. That's something that's very valuable, which is why sometimes public lectures and education, we're paying for it. So that's how I feel like value is not only physical, but it can also be in other forms as well.
Interesting. Very interesting. Because you were about to touch on some concept of tangible versus intangible. And I think that even the cultures, Eastern culture versus a Western culture, delves a little bit into that concept of materialistic value versus intangible or spiritual value or principled value. So we could go so deep. We can go value theory and things like that. However, there are values, economic values, that I actually focused on with respect to Goldma, because economics is something that affects your stomach. Without the economics, your stomach is highly likely to be empty. And we don't want that. We want to have full stomachs, because I'm trying to get at the heart of our living, the heart of our existence. Is two things: your stomach and your ability to reproduce another living being. So that continues the cycle of life. Of course, you gotta have breathing and other little things like that. But
little things.
Yeah, little things like that. But I'm trying to say that if you don't have your stomach full, or you don't put something in your stomach, life will cease to exist. And how do you get something in your stomach? Well, there must be some economics that occurs. You need some economic power or economic value that you can trade to get something in your stomach. So that's why Goldma is into play, is because it provides the ability to say, I now, if I have a phone, I now have economic value at my hands, and I can trade that and be able to minimize the risk of what I have as value going to zero. Which, ask Venezuela right now. I guarantee you they wish they had something that did not go to zero. And they wish they even had cash right now. There's no cash there. Right this moment, they're trading fish for flour, or trading fish for chicken, or something else, just toothpaste, basic things to help them survive. And I think that's sad, because value in currency that they put in currency for so long just went away one day. The same as in Argentina, the same as here in Zimbabwe, the same as in Greece, the same as Cyprus. There's so many examples. And you think about United States, where there was a crash just less than 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago now. And someone is saying to me, we never got out of that. We actually had to incur more debt to deal with that, which doesn't really solve the problem. What would have solved the problem is we had more gold. What if the United States all of a sudden got all that gold to cover that debt? Would there be debt anymore? No. So anyway, guess where a whole bunch of gold at? Enough gold to cover the United States debt. Where is it at?
Zimbabwe.
Come on.
Come right here.
Come on. And that's the truth. Whether people really want to be able to deal with that truth or not, that's something that we can't argue right now. But the truth will set people free out of debt bondage. But anyway, I digress. Y'all carry on.
All right. I want to read something here.
Okay.
Right. This is from a blog, and it's called pragcap.com. I hope I pronounced this correctly. They're saying that the concept of value must be dynamic. It evolves and adapts just as we do. It is not a static concept that has some sort of eternal benchmark. Do you guys agree? I see Ruben's giving me the eye right now.
Oh no!
You want to chime in on that one?
I was processing. I actually have more questions than a comment. You say it's dynamic. Okay, I can accept that. Different things change in value over time depending on where we are. Okay, but are they insinuating that there's nothing that has held value over time, or am I reading too much into it?
From what I gather, I think they're saying that we are the ones who create value. We are the ones that determine what's valuable. I'll give you an example, right? Back in the day, in the motherland, cattle was the sign of wealth. Livestock was the sign of wealth. And not to say that there weren't any precious metals that were there, but the richest kings and kingdoms were evaluated. They were evaluated by the amount of livestock they had. But it's not the same case today. It's changed. The reason why it's changed is because society changes. So I guess they're saying as we evolve, value evolves, because what we value also changes.
I like that use of the word evolution, because there are two things at play. One, you talk about symbols of wealth. That's important to just, sometimes people might look wealthy, might have all the symbols, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have wealth. So, yeah, there's an important thing, because what happens in society and the way we are as human beings, we're social animals, right? So there's always this drive to sort of compete with one another and to impress one another for whatever reason. And so sometimes we might accumulate all these symbols and these trappings of wealth. Thankfully for the kingdoms that you're talking about, cattle have some utility power. They have some utility value. I can use cattle as draft power if I'm going to farm, or I can kill cattle. I'm sorry to vegetarians, but you can kill cattle and eat it, and it's meat. So it has utility value.
Yeah.
But when we come now into the 21st century, the same human sort of motives get in our way, because I'm a car fanatic, but a $300,000 Ferrari is not that valuable. Because what can you do with it? You're very limited in terms of where you can go. Really? I mean, if you live here, with and you go out of the cities, you can't really drive it anywhere because it's way too low. You can't go anywhere, right? But it's a symbol of wealth. So I just say all that to bring people back around to this realization. Sometimes you need to know what value really is, what holds value, and not be caught up in the symbols.
Okay, that brings me to another question. If that's the case, then you are saying that value can be determined. Like it's a concept that's subject to ethical relativism, right? Because belief systems are different. And value is always according to the belief systems of that area, of those people, of that culture. Since we've established that value is a subjective concept, who determines it?
Okay, I'll go back a bit. Firstly, value sometimes is what you make it. They say all that glitters is not gold, right? But sometimes someone, I don't know if it's you, Mr. J, who mentioned the chain, say, you know what, they might say they have wealth, but that's not actually wealth. But some people value image above all, right? And with the Ferrari, you might be an outdoor kind of guy. You like farming. You like all that. That's valuable to you. I might like the urban life. I don't need to go there. I will value the Ferrari because in the urban structure, it does what I need it to do. If I get to a place, people take me seriously. That's that value to me. What Nyerai was saying, that over time, value evolved. They used to use kettle. They used to use this and that. But during the course of time, a lot of trends came up and they went. Came up, they went, reached a peak because there was something in that aspect that made it valuable. And the moment that trend dies, that value also dies. But there has been a common denominator. There's been one thing that stood the test of time.
I like what you say.
Come on, speak it.
Exactly.
What is it?
It's gold.
Come on.
It's gold. It stood the test of time. I'll tell you, kettle, yes, you can use it for utility purposes. That's economics, right? You can sell it you can edit. But when disease comes, you lose. That aspect of value comes to say, you know what, to me, that's not value, because if there's a plague, I might lose everything in one go. Gold has stood that test. It has survived that.
Its value is constant.
Yes, its value is constant. A lot of trends have come and they have gone. But in the aspect of gold, it has stayed.
In that respect, right, the economic value, but there are intrinsic values like life itself is an intrinsic value for the majority of people on this earth. They value life. Like, okay, am I going to do something that endangers or put my life at high risk? But because I value it, I do not want to take on this risk or a high level of risk. So I'm going to do things that minimizes my risk. So that's a life value. Then I also say there's a value with respect to your maintenance of life, like breathing clean air. There's some people who do not want to breathe the air that just congests their breathing. It congests the way they think. And then you have people who need to value eating. You can't get away from those basic things: eating and breathing. Yeah. Those are the basic things that is it's part of our instinct. And those are values that I think that when you start moving away from, okay, I need to eat and I need to breathe. Okay, the breathing part I got down pat. I got an abundance of that.
Don't have to think about it.
I don't really even have to think about it. I got that. I'm good. But this food thing, man, I need to deal with that. And like Eddie was saying, historically, people traded to get what they wanted. Someone had this goat and they wanted some fish. Someone had this cattle and they wanted to get a goat. And it was a barter system. But what happened when they didn't have that? Well, the wealthy, the kings, when they wanted to marry their daughters, or you had a son and you wanted to marry that king's daughter, you had to send a little gold over there to get that type of relationship established. And I think that if you go back in the day where there was kings dealt with gold. The subjects dealt with representations of gold. They had, they would be given some type of coin or something that represented the king's gold or that nation's gold. But subjects typically didn't get a chance to get access to gold. That's not what happened. As a matter of fact, even during one of the world wars in the United States, gold was confiscated by the government in order to help with the war. And that's some deep stuff right there. The gold was taken from the public. All right? Facts. Speaking facts here. And those people got paper. Some of them did as a representation. And a lot of them people never got that gold back. And what I'm saying is, and more to what you're saying, is that, there's those different values, but you still got to get to the point where you're going to eat. And if you're not thinking about holding value and getting a return on the value that you hold so that tomorrow you can eat, man, you're going to be behind the curve. You're going to be behind the curve.
There's a thing that you asked earlier about how we value, how we arrive at valuing certain things. It just chimes so well with what you're saying. We have markets, right? Free market system. And, people who pay attention to this channel obviously love the fact that cryptocurrency markets are valued 24 hours a day, right? Like there's no exchange that shuts down. It's always running, right? But there's a problem that usually happens, though, if you look over time. The famous example is the Dutch tulip mania, right?
Okay.
Because some things go sky high in market value, right? Because you can disaggregate value to be, is this utility value, is this exchange value, is it that type of thing? But some things go sky high and then they come crashing down. So that's why I was alluding to the fact that, okay, we have to step back and, put aside our human intuition. It serves us in some respects, but in some respects it doesn't. So that's why I was saying, like, step back from those symbols of wealth, because if you actually take an objective view, they don't hold up as a long-term investment option or something, a decision that you make, for generations. Doesn't hold up.
Okay. Now, there's something that I'm thinking about here.
Okay.
Does that mean that there's such a thing, we're just going to talk about it briefly, as fictitious value?
Of course. Look at diamonds. I'm sorry, Mr. Oppenheimer.
No.
I'm sorry, but
I doubt your wife is going to be very happy with this.
Yeah, I'm sorry, ladies. I'm sorry. But someone
friend.
did a great job marketing diamonds. They did a great job. Is there some industrial use? Yeah, there's some. And I do mean minimum. But really, a majority of it is not used for industrial uses. A majority is used for a luxury, or deemed as a luxury item. For what reason? Why? We don't know. But someone can make that argument about gold also. But there are at least more industrial uses for gold than diamonds.
Okay.
And that it's been used historically. There's a historical trend way before diamonds that can point to the fact that it was interchangeable. So yeah, there are fictitious. To answer your question, yes, there are fictitious values that people are told, and people assume this, and they think that no, this is good for me. This is great for me, and I think too that in cryptocurrency. There are people who fall to FOMO, and some people fall prey to great marketing.
Value is whatever benefit you derive from owning something, either in using it or in its ability to command other things. So you can use it in a free exchange.
Okay. Mr. J, any final thoughts on that?
I've said it from the beginning. I think value is something that I deem has merit, importance, or gives me some type of gratification, and can be interchangeable and can be traded, and also that gives me a sense that later it is what it was yesterday. Or if I don't care for it to not be what it was yesterday, that's okay too. As long as, like you said, it's time sensitive, as long as right now it has merit and importance. So that's what I consider value, because like you said, it is dynamic to some degree.
It is. Well, that concludes our discussion. Thank you very much for watching this video. Leave us comments. We are quick to respond. If you liked this video, just give it a thumbs up, and also share it as much as you want, and subscribe if you haven't already. And remember, when you subscribe, to click the notification bell so that you know when we bring more content to you. This has been fun. Till next time. Bye-bye.